Hi everyone, I'm Brandon Johns, a PhD student at Monash University, and I reviewed the automation of installing curtain walls in high-rise buildings. So first, what is a curtain wall? It's shown in this picture here, partially constructed. It's a non-structural wall, and it is assembled of a large number of modules, which in this case are being lifted up by a crane. And I will be talking about the common practice of how these are installed, then the general practice for how it can be installed, and using that to contrast what is the root problem with the common practice, which makes it slow and unsafe. And then I'll talk about the opportunities to improve the process in both the physical mechanism and the information. So first, for the common practice, we can see that it's being lifted up with a crane, and then after it has been lifted close to the building, the two workers who can be seen in the picture take hold of it and align it, and then fix it to the building. This is unsafe because the module can collide with the workers or the building, causing damage or injury, and hence the process must be done slowly. So in general, we have the desired state, which is having the module aligned to the building. And to bring the system's state to the desired state, the crane operator operates the controls of the crane, and the hardware controller of the crane actuates the mechanical system. As well as this, there are sensors, and there can be internal analysis feeding back information to the crane operator. And these sensors also pick up spatial information. In terms of sensors and analysis, I mean this in a very general sense, in that the crane operator, for example, would be performing sensing and analysis by looking at the module from where they are in the crane and analyzing what they need to do next. But there can also be internal sensing and analysis, which feeds back directly to the hardware controller, for example, anti-sway systems. The problem in this process with relation to how it is currently done is then related to the two workers here, who are referred to as dogmen or riggers. These dogmen perform the sensing and analysis in its entirety in the case that there is a blind lift scenario. So the crane operator is unable to see what they are doing. And in that case, there is no internal feedback aside from plain anti-sway in some cases. And the communication with the crane operator is very slow because there is only gesturing, arm signals, and also radio communication. On top of this, the dogman must also physically actuate the system, bypassing the crane operator's commands as they are aligning it to the building. And this causes a conflict between the commands of the dogman and of the crane operator. Altogether, this makes the process very slow and unsafe. So the opportunities to improve this process are in adding additional constraints, such as guide rails or cables onto the building, or having a robot that is suspended by the building. However, these require that the module and the supporting mechanism is able to be attached to the building itself. In some cases, this may not be appropriate and a crane may still be required. In the case where a crane is still required, we must consider that to achieve the displacement from the ground to the aligned position, a large displacement is required, but then accurate positioning as it approaches the building. For feedback to the operator, we can see that in this case, there is no direct line of sight for the operator. In many cases, to solve this, a camera is placed at the top of the boom of the crane, pointing down. However, it's apparent that because the object is not being placed on the ground, as many payloads are, but it is being aligned in midair to the building, the lack of depth perception makes this inappropriate as well. Instead, another opportunity could be to have a camera on the hook block itself, and that could allow the operator to directly see where they need to bring it into alignment. And then to make this all fit together nicely, post-processing of the camera feeds should be done to help reduce the mental burden for the operator, as giving them multiple camera feeds and lots of sensor information could also be dangerous. So to conclude, the value of the paper that I have is to analyze the opportunities to improve curtain wall installation. And we conclude that in future work, we need to give better control to the crane operator and better information. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Okay. And then, okay, thank you for your presentation. And then your presenter, you now as the design how to as the use the some function replace to the as manpower, right?
Yeah.
And then there some kind of the machine already developed as in Japan or some kind of the country, as you know, so installing robots the outside world. And then the developed the robot is usually used by inside the building, because that they do not want to use the tower crane. I think because the tower crane control is very difficult to each panel, and they developed the small robot to control the installing in the inside building. And then my question is, why you is focused on the control the tower crane to use the installing the wall panel?
Yeah, that was something that we were considering for quite a while. And although there are solutions from inside the building, and there are some emerging solutions which carry the panels outside the building, but use guide rails or are somehow supported by the building, we were considering the edge cases where it's not possible. For example, in renovation, it may be more appropriate to only approach the building from the outside. And in that edge case, a tower crane is required.
Okay, I understand. So you see the maybe from inside approach cannot, and then you use the outside. At the time you need to use the tower crane. Okay. Okay, thank you. And then also at your study is the concept design stage at as a presentation. So I hopefully you is the continues the study and complete your year one is I hope that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then it seems there is no as the question. Any other from the audience?